Okay, I'd like to reconvene the Personnel Committee for the purpose of confirmation hearings. Item 4, confirming the appointment of the Public Defender, Mr. James Long here. And speaking of Long, I think most people know Mr. Long for a long time around here. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
and we're happy to see you here.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jim Long, or James Long, as my mother used to say. I'm very honored to be here today. I was born in this city to an Irish father who worked for the railroad and a sweet little Italian mother who worked hard and studied to become a nurse. My father died when I was 7, and my mother died when I was 17. And so I had a younger brother and an older brother who was off in the military service. So I learned that sometimes you don't always get life handed to you perfectly. But I worked hard and put myself through college here at SUNY Albany, and then I went to the University of New Hampshire School of Law, which at the time was known as the Franklin Pierce Law Center. And I knew while I was there that I wanted to come back to my hometown. And so I knew that when I came back, though, I didn't want to do real estate or closing or be a paper pusher in a firm. So I convinced the law school to allow me to apply for a semester internship in the Albany County Public Defender's Office, then run by Doug Rutherford. And I convinced him that I would work full-time for the academic credits. I just had to convince the public defender, which wasn't that hard because I wasn't asking to be put on the payroll. So I came over, and it would have been the first semester of my 3rd year in law school. And I went down to police court, where everybody must start, as we used to say. I interviewed clients, and I worked on appeals. And there's an order you can get from the appellate division that allows law students to do hearings and trials under supervision. And I grabbed every trial and hearing I could let anybody let me do. And I loved every minute of it. And then after I graduated, I stayed on briefly in the public defender's office under a CETA grant, and I worked on the infamous Lemuel Smith murder case. But then shortly after that, I was offered a judicial clerkship for the Honorable Dan Pryor. And Judge Pryor was a great guy. It was a great job. It was, for a guy just a little more than a year and a half out of law school, it was a great salary, which my then wife liked very much. And Judge Pryor's father had been Legs Diamond's lawyer. So I milked him for every story I could about Legs Diamond and learned a lot. But after about 2 years, I missed being down in police court, meeting people who had gotten arrested, hadn't done something or had done something but regretted it and needed some help. And so I decided to take as my wife said, take a 75% pay cut. I went to work part-time for Judge Marinelli in surrogate's court, and I opened my own practice. I was tempted to ask to go back into the public defender at the time, but I really wanted to do trial work. And the best trial lawyers in this area were in the public defender then, Paul Cheeseman, Bill Gray, Bert Gould. And so somebody said, try 18B work. And so I did that for a few years. And then in 1995, Gus Devine of Judge Devine asked me to come into the public defender's office. He thought that my experience could help with some, he had hired a lot of new young lawyers. So I did go back into the public defender's office. I went down to police court again, and I helped mentor and train some of the young lawyers. Then I went out to Colony, and I managed that calendar completely. And then the last couple of years I was in the public defender's office, I was assigned exclusively felony trials. And for example, in 2001, I tried 11 cases in Albany County to verdict, and all of them were acquittal. And the only one who beat me that year was Tommy Knight, God rest his soul, who got 12 acquittals. And we enjoyed talking about it for years.
Do you know when the next meeting date is?
And then after that, as a big 5-0 approach, I wanted to slow down a little bit. 11 trials, jury trials in 1 year, a lot. Anyway, and an opportunity came along for me to go into the state senate with then Senator David Pattison, who had just become the minority leader. One of my other expertise areas other than criminal law is election law, and they needed somebody for the election law committee. So I took what I call a sabbatical from the rigors of the courtroom, and I went up there for, I think it was 2 years or a little more than 2 years. And I very much wanted to get back. I kept my practice going, and I tried. Then I was trying federal cases at the time, but it was a good experience. When the county executive announced that he was going to send my name to you for your consideration, I got the usual congratulatory phone calls, but I also got a note from a good friend who's a judge now. I'll leave his name unmentioned, but the note was heartwarming, and he harkened me back to when we were together as young law students, third-year law students, in the public defender's office in 1977, and what an exciting place it was to be. Times were different, of course, but people wanted to work there because of people like Paul Cheeseman and Bill Gray. And we were helping people every day, and we loved doing it. And it was a different time that everybody today wants to be an assistant district attorney. Nobody wants to be a public defender. And I think it's the most noble profession in the legal profession there is in public service, is to help somebody who are at the worst time in their life. I often introduce myself to people as I'm like the emergency room doctor. I'm meeting you at the worst time, but I'm here to help. I want to bring that back to the office. I want to make everybody proud to be there. And I have no criticism of any of my predecessors. But I think my experience, both as an attorney now for 37 years, but as a courtroom lawyer, as a trial lawyer, as a battle-scarred trial lawyer, that I can give guidance to the young lawyers and also help some of the older lawyers to refocus and improve their skills as well. So I very much hope that you will consider my recommendation and my nomination favorably. And I thank you for the time I've taken.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Are there any questions and comments from the committee?
I usually do,
No,
and I will tonight,
absolutely.
because first of all, I'd like to say, I am just so pleased that our county executive, Dan McCoy, nominated you, Jim Long, I call you Jim, and you're going to be an asset to our public defender's office. And I'd like to say, with your references, I mean, they just knocked me dead looking at the people who referred you and said they would refer you to us. And I hope you get the position, and I'm going to support this nominee, sir.
Thank you. And I want to, Mr.
I
Sigarachi.
also concur, Mr. Long's reputation precedes him. He is a long-standing attorney in Albany County, and I'm pleased to support. I will make the motion to move this confirmation along.
If you don't mind, if I ask the other members if they have any, but I also want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I've known you for I don't even know how many years, but it's been a long time. And you've always treated me with respect when I was a young 20-year-old something. We always looked up to you for advice, especially on, I knew you worked in the public defender field. I knew you defended those that needed the most help. And it's always been a pleasure to have known you for all these years. But before we do entertain a motion, I'd like to ask our fellow colleagues in the legislature, Mr. Conahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to say I think this is an excellent appointment. I think you're going to do a tremendous job, and I'm more than happy to support you. I do have a quick question on management of the office. The previous administration, kind of as a policy, started moving some of the part-time positions in the PD's office into full-time positions. The idea that we should be looking for younger, less experienced attorneys to go there full-time. I always had a problem with it. I thought one of the real great things about the PD's office was you did have a certain number of part-time people who, maybe fiscally would not have stayed in the PD's office for a full-time job, but given the ability to run their own office and still spend some time in the PD on a part-time basis, not only improve the level of representation for all the county citizens, also really help the younger attorneys there with having an experienced person to be able to learn from. So I want to get your sense on what you thought about that, and if we maybe consider getting back to a few more part-time positions to get some real experience with the Lions in their part-time basis.
I don't want to sound like a yes man, but I agree with everything you said. because that's the office I entered into in 1977. Paul Chiefman and Bill Gray, they were prominent, well-experienced, very expensive defense lawyers, and people would show up on Monday morning in court, and there they would be as the public defenders. The best lawyers, if somebody wants to do criminal law, they know that the average person charged with a serious crime, I've represented people charged with murder, bank robbery, the average person doesn't have a lot of money. They certainly don't have enough money to hire a lawyer under that circumstance. And oftentimes the person accused, sometimes fairly and sometimes falsely, has no money. If you want to be a criminal lawyer, you've got to do some time in the public defenders or you'll never get into court. And the best are willing to help, but not for $65,000 or even $80,000 a year full-time and have no other outside practice. So I would agree and would love to discuss with you if I am confirmed by the full legislature on how to best allocate that resource. To be honest, I'm not fully aware of who's doing what in the office. I'm looking forward to my first day. I'm going to ask all the attorneys who will be given a memo that they need to be re-interviewed for the job, so I can both, compliment the ones I know are working hard, try to encourage the ones who aren't to change their ways or else, also to just know who's doing what. But I've watched, because I've done this so long in my career, I watch the young ones in court. I watch the clients sometimes giving them a hard time. They don't lose the cool. They stay professional. I think some of the young people there are the future of that office, and I'd hate to lose them because they're not the right support. So I'm there to have their back, and I'll defend every one of them when they're right to anyone who accuses them. And if they're wrong, I'll help them correct what's wrong so that no one needs to worry about it.
Very good.
Appreciate the answer. Even more pleased to support you.
Any other questions from members of the legislature? If not, I'll entertain the motion. Mr. Signorati?
Motion.
Second motion?
Second from Ms. McKnight. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Long. I might want to add the full legislature will entertain all three of these confirmations on March 14th at 6:30 in the chambers. So congratulations again. Item 5 is confirming the appointment of the Director of Employee Relations, Mr. Jeffrey Jamison. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Thank you, the legislature, for giving this opportunity to speak to you this evening. I want to be grateful to County Executive McCoy and also to Commissioner Jennifer Clemmy for nominating me for this position of Director of Employee Relations and for entrusting me with the responsibility of those duties. I'm aware of the importance of this committee and the process and all the time that you give and the efforts for considering the vast issues in county government. And it affirms I look forward to working with each and every one of you toward the challenges that we have in labor and employment. To provide a little history of my background, I attended University of Albany and graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science and minor in communications. Continued on to Albany Law School, where I graduated in 2005 with my Juris Doctorate. There I was involved in many activities, moved courts, president of my class in the Student Bar Association. In 2005, when I graduated, I took a job with the City of Albany, Jerry Jenkins, Corporation Counsel's Office. I gave many thoughts about different things I wanted to do and realized public sector was what I really enjoyed. I took that role and worked on many legal issues dealing with municipal governments, dealing with litigation, land use, and labor issues. I served also as the Director and Commissioner of Buildings and Regulatory Compliance, and dealing with labor issues specifically, I dealt with arbitration, collective bargaining agreements, dealing with improper practices, claims relating to Family Medical Leave Act, and also human rights claims. Throughout my career, I have tried to learn new disciplines and develop relationships throughout the community with other different business people and groups. And I've also tried to use those talents and relationships to provide solutions facing government. I provide PowerPoint demonstrations and other media to these groups to the goal of providing better quality of life to all our citizens. And as for my reason of putting my name in the hat here, it's for my dedication to public service, my deep desire to improve the quality of life and work environment for all, and because of my background in legal work. I'm aware of the complex issues in labor and employment facing many government entities, including the most recent topic that was up in the committee today, dealing with whether or not there's going to be payment or funding for Family Medical Leave Act. I know that when we come together and negotiate these issues, all people in groups may not prescribe or endorse the same specific solution. And we may not walk away with a perfect plan. But what I am confident is this, that we can convene thoughtful people together and bring consensus and identify points of harmony so that we can progress and develop the best practices for labor and employment. And with that, I thank you for your time and service. And ask you to close.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Any questions from the committee? Comments?
Just say I've known Jeff for many years, and I think that he is capable and qualified, and I'm happy to support you in your next move in serving Albany County.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Very good.
I'd just like to say ditto to that. And Jeff worked so hard with us in the creation of the Albany County's Land Bank Authority. Maybe many of you don't know that, but thank you for your effort with that, to help us pull that together to make it an authority.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I like that was
I echo those comments. I knew you were working very hard on the land bank, and I know you had background in negotiations with the city, and
And not just with labor issues, but I've dealt with so many different contract issues, and even in private practice, dealing with other parties and private contract matters, which I think those experiences help to develop the skill set to work on.
very good. Any questions from other legislators? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Signoracci, Mr. Stevens, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Last but not least, the appointment of the Commissioner of the Department of General Services, Mr. Dave Latina.
Commissioner David Lapina, first I wish to thank County Executive McCoy for having the confidence of my employees and skills to select me for employment as Commissioner of General Services. I am a lifetime resident of Albany County. The only time I've ever been out of this county is when I got out of high school and joined the United States Marine Corps, which I served. When I came out, I developed in a private business pretty much my whole entire life, which has taught me to deal in a customer service basis, which I feel that general services is. Every employee in the county is a customer. So to have a comfortable, safe, working environment is one of General Services' main goals. If I am confirmed as Commissioner, I will continue to work with the former Commissioner that I served under as Assistant to Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. As General Service Commissioner, I will continue to pursue all objectives set forth by County Executive McCoy and the Albany County Legislature, including project management, getting Energy Star ratings for all county buildings, update the county fleet for all vehicles, and to ensure the security and maintenance of all county buildings. In closing, I would like to thank you for your consideration of my candidacy for this appointment.
Thank you. And I'd like to personally thank you, Mr. Latina. On January 1st, I took on a new role in this legislature, and I thought it was banging a gavel, and I found out it was a lot more than that. I had to run an office on a big chunk of the 7th floor, and Mr. Latina has been there. He and his staff have worked tirelessly to make sure that we had an easy transition for all of us on that. And I didn't even know he was going to be the commissioner then, but he probably didn't either. So, Mr. Signoracci.
I was going to ditto those. I worked with, prior to being there with the previous chair in the chairman's office, and every time that we've pulled Mr. Latina, or his predecessor, Mr. Latina, has always served with a smile and always helped out. I don't think that customer service was always satisfaction on our end. And again, I'm happy to support you and one of my contemporaries and friends and fellow coffee drinkers for your appointment. So.
Very good. Any others?
No statement.
Anybody else? Paul, I'm sorry.
Just one question on your resume. You indicate that you're a home inspector in Fox Theater Amusement also? Those are two jobs you have besides the commissioner?
Yes, I do that on my weekends or nights. I do have an employee that works for me in the Fox Amusements. This is my main focus. I enjoy this. This is probably one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in my life working for the employees I have are exemplary. The hardest working employees I have really well.
Very good. Any else?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this nominee.
Can I hold that for a second and
1
ask the
second.
other members?
1 second.
Any other members of the legislature have any questions?
1 second's up, sir.
I'll entertain it then, Mr. Knight.
Okay.
Second,
So stated.
Mr. Miller? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Latina. Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Night. Terry, you good?
Yeah, we're good. I got a few things to do.
Good people.
Yeah, Dave's good guy.